Hey everyone, it's Hans, and welcome back. For quite some time now, video game companies have dabbled in augmented reality and virtual reality. And in this sense, for the most part, some of them have succeeded and others have failed. Well, today we're going to be looking at a new entry in the augmented reality side of things from Nintendo, and it is called Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. And it's quite an interesting and unique product because it really does seem to blend the best of what augmented reality can give you with video games. However, there are quite a few caveats despite how cool it is on the surface. And so today we're going to be looking at the product, how it performs, and whether or not it's worth your moolah. So let's find out. So the first thing we'll do is we will unbox the Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. And as we can see on the front, it tells you which version of the product you have. There are actually two versions. There is a Mario and Luigi version of the product. Obviously with Mario being red and Luigi being green. Other than that, the box simply tells you more about the title, including how you can play it and what is included. So when unboxing the product, you'll see an initial notice, which actually says that you need to download Mario Kart Home Live because it's not included in the box. It's a bit of a strange move, and I'm not really sure why Nintendo have done this, but it is something to take into consideration just in case you buy the package thinking that you can just immediately play. Sure, it's only a 1.1 gig download, but it just means that you will need an internet connection before procuring this game. In terms of what is actually included in the box, there is a USB-C charging cable and a variety of cardboard gates, which are meant for the tracks, which I'll get to in just a little bit. Other than that, inside the box is a really gorgeous racer. As you can see, the one that I received for review is the Luigi variant. There is also a Mario one, and that's pretty much all there is inside the box. In terms of setting it up, it's super easy. So once you've downloaded the Mario Kart Home Live software onto your Nintendo Switch, the game will prompt you to start up the kart. And all you have to do is turn it on, and as you'll see on the kart itself, there is actually a camera that sort of juts out just above Luigi's head. And all you do is you point the camera towards your Switch's screen where there's a QR code displayed, and through a little bit of magic, the Switch pairs to the kart. And it's actually quite an easy and cool experience. Right after that, the kart becomes active, and you'll note that on the Switch screen, you can immediately see what Luigi is seeing while he is driving. And I've got to be perfectly honest with you, it's a super cool experience. A lot cooler than I initially gave the entire set credit for. Now, of course, the actual magic comes into play when you start creating your own tracks, and that's where those gates come into play. So the base set comes with 4 gates, each of a different color, and they all feature some really great and old-styled Nintendo artwork. Now, each of these gates essentially are placed down on the floor or whatever space you may have in order to create a track. And in terms of track creation, it's super simple. All you do is you put down the kart, drive it towards the first gate, and everything will be automatically picked up in the software. And it's actually quite impressive just how well everything works together. Thereafter, you can create your track, and boom, you can start playing and enjoying Mario Kart Home Live. Now, with that said, I have to be honest, you kind of do need a fair amount of space in order to enjoy the product. Now, I live in an apartment, which means that it's a shared space with other people, and when I had to set this up in my lounge environment, it took up a decent amount of space, meaning that even if I wanted to leave it out, I couldn't because of the space that it requires. So that's definitely something to take into consideration for people who either buy it for themselves or for their children. So now once you've set up your track, you can begin racing, and this is really where the magic happens. So when you're looking at your Switch screen, you'll actually see an overlay of different Koopas and other characters from the Mario games, as well as Luigi. He actually becomes animated, and when you're driving around any of the courses that you've created, there'll be a variety of elements to deal with. And this is a really cool facet of how they're blending reality with a video game in this wonderful augmented sense. And from that perspective, it's a very highly polished and fun experience. And in this sense, there are several things that you can do. So there is a Grand Prix mode where you can race against a variety of Koopalings across 8 cups and over 24 tracks. And what's great is that each cup superimposes different effects and different weather, etc., on whatever track you've created, and it gives it a very cool and incredibly challenging experience. Now, one of the hallmarks of Mario Kart, as anybody who's played, is how frantic the action can get. And the good news is that it is just as frantic in Mario Kart Home Live. There are piranhas, there are Koopas, there are shells, which all of you know. And of course, all of these are digital and overlaid over the real experience of you watching Luigi drive around whatever track you've made. And honestly, there is a certain type of magic to it that is a bit difficult to describe, and it really is one of those products that you've got to use. Actually, I'd almost maybe say it's a little bit more frantic, because now you actually have to legitimately and physically maneuver a real kart around a physical 3D space. And it's a bit of a weird thing to do, because traditionally when using remote control devices, you'd be watching the device while you're flying it around. But for Mario Kart Live, you kind of have to look at the Switch screen. So you've got to then be quite adept at racing as if it's a normal digital racer, despite it being in a 3D space. It's an unusual experience, but it's really quite cool in the long run. Now, with that in mind, I have to admit that Cobalt, my cat, absolutely hated the kart. And of course, I'm sure that stands to reason for anyone who might have pets at home, but it is something to just be a little bit aware of. There is also a custom race mode if you don't want to make use of whatever the Grand Prix throws at you, and in this sense you can actually customize what every single gate does once you've laid them out. In addition to that, there's also a time trial mode, and what's cool about time trial is if you know somebody else who also has Mario Kart Home Live, they can join in either with their Switch and their kart, or you can just simply share your Switch with somebody else and let them take over and immediately play. So it does have a bit of a two-player element to it, as well as interconnectivity for if you know people who have Mario Kart Home Live as well. So overall, it's actually a pretty decent product, and I must be honest, it brought a lot of enjoyment to me for the little while that I did play it. So as I mentioned before, there are a couple of caveats with regards to this. First and foremost is the price. It goes for $100 or 2,000 Rand. And bear in mind, in the box, all you're really getting are a bunch of cardboard gates and then the kart itself, which I will admit is quite advanced given how it has a camera, bump sensors and so on and so forth, but it is still a pretty penny. I would have also preferred if the included gates were plastic instead of cardboard, just from a longevity perspective, as well as reliability, because goodness knows throughout the experience my car did crash into them a few times, and I'm not really sure how they would hold up over a long period of time. The good news is you can go online and actually print out the same AR codes that the racer needs to identify in order to use, so if you do damage these gates, you can always make your own. So in terms of the kart itself, I really dig it. It's well designed and it's sturdy, and it seems to feature quite a bit of really good tech. So I don't know what resolution the camera is, and I guess it doesn't really matter because it works really well. Now, in terms of battery life, I will admit that I managed to get just over an hour, maybe an hour and a little bit. Now, Nintendo does advertise 90 minutes of playtime on a single charge, which is fairly decent. Now, given how the entire experience requires space, this is another caveat that many people will have to take note of. You can't just play the game. There is no game without pairing the kart to the Nintendo Switch. Now, with that in mind, it does allow for a distance of up to 5 meters, although in my experience, I found that the wireless connectivity sort of drops out from about 3 meters. So even though it requires space to be used and enjoyed, it also stands to reason that that space can't be too large. Now, because you also have to always set up the gates in order to play, it does mean that once again, you have to have the space to enjoy it. And how often you're really going to want to leave the tracks out or actually go through the process of setting the whole thing up, I don't know, it remains to be seen. I mean, I found for myself, I did it a few times and I was a bit like, you know, I kind of want to play it, but I'm just going to boot up normal Mario Kart versus going through the effort of actually creating and setting up a track. So with all of this in mind, I will admit that the overall experience for Mario Kart Home Live is actually very good. It brought a big smile to my face every time I ended up actually taking the time to set it up and play, and I really think it's quite a polished experience. So I do think that with Mario Kart Live, the fun factor is there if you're willing to overlook the price and the fact that you need a lot of space in order to truly enjoy it. But with those two things aside, the overall product itself is actually very good. It's a very polished experience. The kart works a lot better than I thought that it would, despite having a smaller than average range. And other than that, yeah, the experience is decent. And like I said, every single time that I played it, when I took the time to set it up, it brought a huge smile to my face. If you enjoyed this review and this video, you know what to do, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon. Ciao for now.